Luann stared out of her window into the night, feeling completely devastated and heartbroken over Lincoln's accident. It happened a few hours since she and the rest of the family returned home from the hospital, and Luann felt more restless than she ever felt in her life. Luann couldn't understand why everyone was able to sleep peacefully after everything that had happened, because she certainly wasn't able to. Because of her April Fool's Day pranks, Lincoln had been reduced to vegetative state with the rest of her family. So nothing would she would not be able to never walk again because of this shattered spine. For the last hour, Luann had reflected of all of her previous April Fool's Day pranks and sprees and how reckless she realized that she really already had been. All the prank traps that she used year on Ronnie and had been invited to the Loud House, how could have been badly hurt Lincoln or Ronnie if they had not been so lucky. The incident at the hotel was probably most reckless, the dangerous pranking spree Luann has ever done. Her entire family couldn't have gotten badly hurt or even killed had Luann not made the precious calculations of her pranks set up at the hotel, but last year's April Fool's Day had been worse, damaging to their family's reputations rather than their health. And because of the actions performed by the stunts actors, it took them at least a year to undo the damage that had been done to the reputations of Luann's family members. And Luann swore at the very end of April Fool's Day that she'd be the last time she ever pranked her family. Yet, after all that, Luann still continued to go back to her own word and pull pranks on her family every Fool's Day every now and then. Now her only brother was the shell former of itself because of that. Luann wondered why she did all this to her family to even begin with. She had just been trying to spread her joy of April Fool's Day tradition each year, but she had never been taking any of the consideration into what her parents had said, what her siblings thought about it, nor that they made them feel. Luann was the only person who enjoyed pranking others on April Fool's Day, yet the rest of the family was absolutely hated it with a passion. Although her parents never really liked to take a stand against her, Lincoln had finally decided that he had enough of Luann's pranks and took against it for his parents. She even recalled Lincoln's reaction when she saw his stuffed rabbit, Bun Bun, half destroyed it from the explosive party ball in his room. And this fought to bring Luann to tears, and yet she had been emotionally hurt and angered from seeing his best friend blown to pieces. But although Luann just laughed at it all, thinking it was funny, she still had broken his heart, and for what? Just to get a laugh out of it? If Luann had sensed it all, she would have stopped her pranking and she would have had the chance. But it was too late for that now. The damage had been done, and Lincoln now suffered from Luann's recklessness for the rest of his life, so that her family, Luann, wondered if Lincoln would still ever be able to remember Bun Bun at all due to his memory loss, or any of these events that lead him to the hospital for that matter. It really did hurt Luann to think that the last thing Lincoln might have remembered was before becoming crippled by the fallen fridge. Due to the brain damage, however, Luann wasn't sure if he remembered it. At least not at first. Yet if he did, she could only hope that Lincoln would forgive her, and even if he was still capable of doing so. But Luann also remembered the strange look Lincoln gave her that made when she direct eye contact with him. Was it possible that he was seeing her in such a sorrowful and miserable state? It's somehow something sparked in his memory. Did Lincoln know that Luann had done? Did he recognize her again? Luann couldn't be for sure, as that was the case, or perhaps maybe some uncontrolled reaction that he was experiencing. She was no expert in brain psychology, but if Luann had to guess, Lincoln was probably aware of her appearance and trying to recall who she was. Yet due to the amount of brain damage that he suffered, Lincoln was having a hard time doing so. But if that were the case, then why did he look at Lincoln the way that he did the exact moment? It didn't make much sense to her. Yet it was made very little difference, and now it was. Luann just sighed and turned away from the window, wondering why she always pranked her family the way she did. That drove her to do what she did every April Fool's Day. Luann remembered the first time that she had pranked her family on April Fool's Day was back when she was only 9 years old. She had snuck several stink bombs underneath the beds to her parents' rooms, which went off once they sat down on it. In her siblings' rooms, Luann had buckets of water hanging above their doors and splattered all over them once they opened them. Of course, she had gotten scolded for making making a mess and stinking up her parents' room with the stink bombs, but her parents let it off it easy as it was April Fool's Day. However, as the years progressed, Luan's pranks began to get more disastrous approach. When she turned 10, Luan pulled off yet another April Fool's Day prank on her family by sneaking 3 wild skunks into the house, which stank up the house so bad that the family had to stay in a hotel for several days. She got grounded for a week because of it. Age 11, she was at the point where Luan was starting to get really more reckless and rambunctious with her pranks, and from there on, they had continued and counted every year. Despite the times that Luan had promised that she would ease up on and stop the pranking on her family, the other people around her as well, but it never happened. Even though the hotel incident, that was the year that last year that Luan had promised her father that her family that would be prank free for several years if she brought out a hotel, quote unquote, pull off the biggest April Fool's Day prank of all time. Luan had definitely succeeded in doing that, but after that, she still went back on to making the promise that she made her father. Deep down, she knew it was wrong, but her addiction to become a comedy and pranking had gotten the better of her, and she broke her 10-year prank-free promise because of that. Dad practically bankrupted us just to purchase the land for a fake clown camp in the hotel, Luan fought pitifully. I should have just stopped and like that point, and I promised, but Luan felt the guilt grow within her worse as she thought that how much damage that her pranking sprees had really cost the family each year. It had been a long time since her parents financially recovered from that year Luan forced Lynn to buying in the land of a fake clown camp and hotel, and her prank props weren't that cheap either. But the following April Fool's Day was probably the worst damage of all. Apart from today, because of the actions performed by the stunt actors posing as the Loud family, all of Royal Woods believed that Luan's parents and siblings were the real culprits that's behind the mischief and the tricks that the stunt actors performed, causing her family's reputation to be severely damaged. It was so bad that the actors actually had to issue apologies to the Loud family and Royal Woods as the days went after April Fools. And yet again, Luan still swore never to prank anyone ever again, but went back on to doing the oath as always. However, Luan did try to make things easier this April Fool's Day by pranking her and her family the original way, which was the use of prank traps, and she believed that after all it would be best to prank her family, that they deserve a small break. But that didn't mean she stopped pranking them altogether. Pranking was like a drug addiction to Luan. It was too ingrained in her mind for the easy way out. Thinking back on it now, Luan realized how foolish that she had been all these years, doing what she had done every April Fool's Day. Her actions at the hotel 2 years ago had placed her and her family in danger. The stunt actor incident that she had played the previous year had damaged her reputations, and now Luan ended up severely injuring and crippling her only brother because of her addiction to pranking. Lincoln was always the man with the plan, but now that he might not ever be that same person ever again, he'd be lucky if he could even speak properly again, let alone make a real progression of his mindset, due to the extreme brain damage he suffered from being crushed to death by, or almost crushed to death by, a heavy refrigerator. Although Lincoln could clearly speak, he was incapable of pronouncing words correctly, even though it was clear that it was still that what the others would still say, and even tried telling him intelligible words. Yes, his speech was greatly impaired due to the damage that has been done in bronchus area in his brain, but it was a part of the brain that allowed a person to produce speech. Luan had indeed caused every irreversible damage not only to Lincoln, but her whole family as well. Her comedy career no longer mattered at this point anymore, nor that it was fun any longer. It had turned into something horrible and frightening because of her recklessness, and Luan had wished that she had never chosen to be a comedy career as a path. She had chosen a different career path when she was younger. Lincoln wouldn't have been suffering that way that day. "What have I done?" Luan murmured softly, feeling the huge urge to cry once more, and then headed out the room towards the bathroom. But that was when she was about to enter it. She stopped and noticed something. Luan heard Lori and Lenny speaking in their room. She slowly approached the door to the room, not wanting to attract any attention. It was around 11:30, and everyone else was asleep, so Luan couldn't understand why those two were still awake. Once she made her way to the door, she stopped when she heard Lenny speaking to Lori. Lori, that's insane. We can't do that, Lenny protested. And why shouldn't we? Luan deserves it after all the hell she's put us for every April Fool's Day. Look what happened to Lincoln because of her damn pranking addiction. He's been reduced to vegetable. And you're basically telling me that you're feeling sympathy for Luan? Lori snapped angrily. Lori, you think that I'm not angry at Luan, and is that it? Well, if that's what you think, then you're wrong, Lenny shot back. I hate it when she does this to everyone else, but that doesn't mean we should get around to go even try to get even with Luan, because she made a small mistake. A small mistake? You calling nearly killing her brother a small mistake? Damn it, Lenny, you're 19 years old now. And are you that naive? Luan then just messed up big time. And why do you think this is? It's because she allowed her to do these things and just get away with it with all these years. She's 17 years old and acts like a rambunctious teenager on pixie dust. Like Mom and Dad said, we acted like cowards and hid away from Luan when she stands to put up a stop to her pranking sprees. And now look where Lincoln is now because of our cowardice, Lori hissed. But Mom and Dad are doing that right now, Lenny argued. Luan's grounded for the rest of the year, and they banned her comedy and pranking in this house forever, so we don't have to worry about pulling any other fast ones on us ever again. Besides, Luan was really traumatized and upset because of everything that happened to Lincoln, and because of her, she's not really like that to be pulling pranks again anytime soon. Lenny, do you honestly believe that Luan will do that? I guarantee you, once and for all, this blows, the whole year ends. She will always find ways to prank us again. And you know it, Lori said with a frustrated side. I don't believe that, Lori, Lenny disagreed. Luan swore to the hospital that she'd never prank anyone again. And this time, given what happened to Lincoln, I think she really means it. Luan was under a lot of pressure at the time, but I honestly believe that, Lori said. She said that so many times before, and she always went back on her word. Luan promised Dad after the hotel incident that she'd give us all the pranks-free decade. And what does she do? She just blows it off and continues with her damn pranks like every chance she gets. Luan has no self-control when it comes to this kind of thing. Pranking is like a drug addiction to her, and it almost cost Lincoln his life. Luan felt tears running down her face as she listened to Lori ramble about everything she's done, and she knew in her heart that Lori was right about it all. I know Mom and Dad are finally taking a stand, so why should we worry about Luan now? She won't prank us anymore because of the restrictions that they set in this house, Lenny wondered. For how long, Lenny? How long do you think Luan will go for a year before she's having the urge to break free these new rules and prank someone else? Like our friends or even our own friends behind our backs. And if Luan does that, she could end up sending them to the hospital like Lincoln, Lori replied. Or if worse comes to pass, she might even putting up someone in Coroner's vault. Hell, that's where Lincoln would have ended up at, inside of a body bag stuffed in a freezer, would be planning his funeral arrangements right now if the attempts haven't arrived at our house too late. Do you really consider that, Lenny? To be honest, no, Lenny replied. But that doesn't mean I was fearing for Lincoln's life after that fridge fell on him. I honestly thought that he was a goner, but for some stroke of miraculous luck, Lincoln survived and he will live. Yeah, he survived all night, but you heard the doctor saying Lincoln will be in the wheelchair for the rest of his life? He's even brain damaged as well. That's bad enough to the point on having to basically babied forever. I wouldn't exactly call that living, Lenny. And Dr. Lloyd even said so himself, Lori retorted flatly. Sighing, Lenny asked, what's your point in all this? My point, Lenny, is that we really need to get through to Luan on just how bad this is. I don't believe that grounding Luan or desperate of her as a comic career will be enough to get her to stop. But we're not her parents. But this needs to be done, and Lisa agrees with us all, Lori answered. But I still don't think it's a good idea, Lenny objected. It might. I'm perfectly aware that if it does, Lenny, Lisa knows too, Lori interrupted. But she's willing to do it, and I'm pretty sure it'll send a chair down for the message to Luan to never pull another prank in this house again, or anywhere else ever again. Luan had no idea what to make of this, what to make of all this talk about the negative effects and such. And what did Lisa have to do with any of it? It became clear, though, that three of them were most likely planning to get even with her. If it hadn't happened to Lincoln, This struck fear into Luan, and this caused her sorts of furies of what they could do behind her parents' backs. Was Lisa possibly planning to torture her with some experimental drug? Or perhaps they were planning to drag her into the basement and beat her to a pulp? Luan knew these thoughts were surrounding the mind by stupid, but given by the current circumstances, she couldn't help but imagine the worst. Luan was almost tempted to enter the room and tell Lori and Lenny how sorry she was that she'd never prank anyone else again. But she already had done that so many times before that she lost count, and doubted that they would believe her. Luan just headed back for her room, stopping short when she saw the door to Lincoln's room wide open. She felt the urge to cry again, and she just stood at the center of the hall, staring into the empty room ahead of her. A part of Luan's mind wanted to assure her that Lincoln was safe in the other room, still tucked in bed and asleep, but she knew that she was only fooling herself, and Luan knew that Lincoln was far away from here in a hospital room. Of a shell of his former self that was in a cold and hard truth, Luan couldn't challenge it away. She walked up to the doorway leading to Lincoln's small bedroom and felt massive tears coming out when she entered. As Luan just stared at Lincoln's empty bed, she whispered, "I'm so sorry, Lincoln. This was my fault. Why didn't I have to pull these pranks? I don't care about it anymore. I just want you back." She finally broke down crying to tears as she fell on the floor or on her knees on Lincoln's empty bed, with unspeakable remorse of what she had done to Lincoln. After all the pranks that she had pulled over the years of her family, Luan did not know what to do, or how to face her family even more after doing what she's done. There is no doubt in her mind that her entire family would probably hated her guts for the pranks and deceptions that she had pulled off them each year on April Fool's Day. This was so the day that Luan will never enjoy again in her life. April Fool's Day. She had always been her favorite holiday of all time. But what happened to Lincoln? Luan never would see April Fool's Day the same way again. To this day, that serves a tragic reminder from Luan of what she had done to her brother, and now her recklessness and almost sent him to the vault. Every April Fool's Day, every now, which would be the day Luan will forever be haunted with that reservation, and almost claiming that the only brother she had in her recklessness pranking spree, and hence sight of Lincoln, might as well be dead due to the fact that his brain was so severely damaged and edible for the rest of his life, and never to live out whatever dreams that he may have had in the future. As Luan sobbed on the floor near Lincoln's bed, the door to Lori and Lenny's room opened up, and Lori stepped out into the hall to find the source of the noise coming from Lincoln's room, and saw Luan bawling her eyes out right in front of Lincoln's bed. "Luan?" Lori exclaimed. "What's going on, Lori asked, stepping out into the hall. "It's Luan," Lori points out. "Looks like she's having a breakdown of what happened to Lincoln. I can't really blame her, not after everything that's happened." "Nor can I," Lenny said. "Maybe we should speak to Luan and maybe try to comfort her." "If you want to, be my guest," Lori said, glancing briefly at Luan. "But I'm not going to be a part of it. I have no desire to show her sympathy after all she's done." "Lori, I don't like what Luan did any more than you do, but this does not mean we can't treat her like scum on the earth. She's still our sister, and the fact that Luan didn't tend to hurt Lincoln, so act a little more civilized, please," Lenny scolded. "Oh, so you're lecturing me on how to behave? Is that it?" Lori demanded. "No, I'm only..." Lenny paused with a frustrated sigh, then said, "You know what, Lori? I'm done with this. Do what you want, hate her all you want, but I'm helping Luan, however you like it or not." "Then so be it," Lori snapped, walking back to her room and shutting the door behind her. Sighing, Lenny walked up to Lincoln's room and up to Luan, who was still sobbing. She reached down and placed her hand on Luan's shoulder, startling her. "Lenny?" Luan stuttered, wiping tears from her face. "Hey, Luan, I heard you in here. Are you okay?" Lenny asked, trying to act casual. "Does it look like I'm okay? Of course I'm not okay. Lincoln's a vegetable because of me," Luan snapped, glaring at Lenny with puffy eyes. "I don't need you to comfort me. If that's what your attention, I get it. You can hate me all I did to Lincoln, but so if you just come in here to berate me, just get it on with it and get lost." Lenny just didn't know how to say as Luan wiped tears from her face. She understood that Luan felt sorry for what happened to Lincoln, but yet she couldn't fully forgive her. A part of Lenny told her that she had pity on Luan, while another part urged her just to forget about Luan. But Lenny didn't know what to choose. What Luan did was very serious indeed, but Lenny knew deep down that it was only an accident and that she never intentionally wanted to hurt Lincoln. But even so, would it be a very long time before anyone was able to forgive Luan, entirely due to the severity of what she had caused a horrible impact on both Lincoln and the rest of the Loud family. This wasn't just a simple accident like a broken leg or an arm. She had severely injured Lincoln, paralyzed him from the waist down, and had reduced his mind to the state of mental retardation because of her reckless behavior. This was something that could never easily be forgiven, especially because Lincoln would end up having to be cared for like a baby or an elderly person at home for the rest of his life. He'll never be able to live a normal life or the same way again. Luan, Lenny sighed. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm just concerned about why you're here. That's all. It's almost midnight after all. Luan didn't know what to say. I'm just worried about Lincoln. What if something happens to him while he's recovering in the hospital? What if he dies because of me? Lenny walked up to her and embraced Luan tightly, feeling truly sorry for her friend for the first time since Lincoln's life-crippling accident. Luan, Lincoln's a very strong guy. I'm pretty sure he'll pull through, she reassured Luan. I know that Lincoln may not be the same again, and I'm not exactly happy about that, but I'm glad that he survived at least. I know, Luan sniffled, hugging Lenny. I understand if you don't forgive me. I know that none of you guys might forgive me for what happened to Lincoln, but I just hope that you'll forgive me for all the years I pranked you, broke my promises to stop pranking every April Fool's Day. I'm truly sorry for all that, and you and Lori were right. Pranking was just like a drug addiction to me. If I just keep my word and stop pranking after the hotel incident. Lenny felt a slight pain and a surprise rush through when Luan said that. She realized that Luan must have overheard what Lori was talking in her room earlier, meaning that she must have also heard about her talk with that thing. You heard all that? Lenny asked Luan with a slight of worry in her voice. Yeah, I did. Luan nodded. I was heading for the restroom when I heard the two of you talking and speaking to each other. What is this thing you're planning to do to me? Lenny wasn't sure how to respond to this, but she had to think of a way to keep Luan in the dark on the subject. She also had second thoughts of how helping Lori and Lisa go through with this secret plan of theirs, but it was just cruel. Luan didn't deserve it, even though everything she had done both Lincoln and her whole family. It's nothing, Luan, Lenny lied. It was just something that Lori suggested, but Lisa was against it. What was that? Just tell me, Luan insisted. Lisa and Lori wanted to prank you back for everything you've done, but they were having second thoughts about it then the last moment, Lenny replied, knowing that she was saying that it was a lie. I don't believe you. I heard Lori say that Lisa agrees with you whatever you're planning to do to me, and I know it wasn't just some prank, Luan snapped. What is Lisa's plan to do? Torture me? Drug me? Luan, Lenny began before her cut off. Do you think that I'm just gonna have to break the rules again after this year ends and then go back to pranking? Is that it? Is that why that's you, Lori, and Lisa think? Then you're wrong, Luan yelled. I know I've broken my promises to stop pranking each year, but I mean it this time, and what I'm saying, I'm never doing it again. After what happened to Lincoln, I don't even know the idea of pranking anybody anymore. Not after what happened. I believe you, Luan, Lenny said in a comforting voice. But Lori and Lisa just won't accept it, no matter what I say to them. Trust me though, when I say that I won't let them do anything bad to you, I'll speak with Lori and Lisa about it and try to talk some sense into them. But just try to understand that they're scared, and people don't tend to act rationally when they are scared. Luan felt a sense of relief knowing that Lenny would stand up for her despite everything she's done. It was completely understandable, and everyone in the family would be fearing for Lincoln's life as he lay on the hospital bed, recovering from his grueling injuries, and they had also been showing a lot of contempt towards Luan for sending Lincoln there in the first place. Yes, Luan had not considered that possibility for one of her sisters would try to get even with her, although she would have expected it. Luan had, after all, pranked her family for all the years that had put Lincoln in the hospital with a broken spine and serious brain damage. So it was only natural that her sisters would get back at Luan for it. She embraced Lenny again and then said, Thank you, Lenny. I promise that I'll be a better person from now on, and I truly mean it. I won't prank anyone again, and I give you my word on what on that. I just can't let what happened to Lincoln happen again. I know you will, Luan. Lenny smiled warmly, embracing Luan. You should get some sleep now, and don't worry about what Lori said. I'll make sure that she and Lisa don't try anything funny. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit tired right now, Luan said. I should hit the sack now. Me too, Lenny said, heading towards out of the room. Luan followed her out in the hall and taking one last glance of Lincoln's room. Then she headed off to the bed. Once Luan was in her room, Lenny entered her room to find Lori sitting on the bed, still awake. Lori, we need to talk, Lenny said firmly. About what? Lori asked. About this so-called plan that you and Lisa fought up, Lenny replied. It's not necessary, and it's just cruel. I just spoke to Luan, and I'm very convinced that she won't break her word this time. Well, I'm not too convinced this either is Lisa, Lori said flatly. You think just because Luan broke down sobbing, she's gonna keep her word? Lenny at this point was about to lose her cool in an angry voice. Lori, what the hell is the matter with you? What is going to take to get it through your head that Luan actually means that she says it this time? Nothing will, Lenny. I'm sorry to say this, but after everything that damn prankster has done to us, I just can't believe everything she says, Lori hissed. So that's how it is then? Well then. Lenny then stepped up onto Lori's bed and glared aggressively at her. I'll just let Mom and Dad know of your little secret plan that you're doing in the morning. Go right ahead. It's not like they're gonna give a crap about it. They're just angry at Luan and as the rest of us are, Lori shot back. Lenny felt even angrier than before, and the eldest sister in the Loud family was acting unreasonable, senseless child, and Lenny was tired of it. And worst of all, she didn't even care if her parents would find out whatever it was that she and Lisa had planned for Luan. You know what, Lori? I'm through with all this nonsense of yours. Until you learn to act more civilized, you could sleep here alone. I'm sleeping in the living room, Lenny snapped. Then she stormed out with the bedroom door and the pillow and blanket in her arms. Whatever, Lori muttered before shutting off her lamp, bathing in the room in the darkness. As Lenny headed towards the stairs, she set her blanket and pillow near the door, heading to Lisa and Lily's room, and gently pushed open the door to see Lisa standing near the window holding something in her hands. Lenny moved slowly through the room as to try not to wake up Lily, and tapped on Lisa's shoulder, catching her attention. What, Lenny? What are you doing here? Lisa asked, obviously not expecting anyone in the room. You better come outside. We need to talk, Lenny answered in a very serious tone. Lisa frowned at Lenny's serious expression and asked, What's the matter of importance of the serious that you might interrupt the solitude of me and my youngest sibling? Lenny glared at Lisa, and then with a firm voice, Just come outside now. Sighing in frustration, Lisa said, So be it. Then she followed Lenny outside of the room and closed the door behind her, then asked Lenny what she wanted. Lori told me everything about your little invention that you had planned to use on Luan, and I'm here to tell you to better call it off, or I'll be letting Mom and Dad know about it, Lenny answered with a serious tone of voice. Lisa's expression changed from annoyance to that of a person who had been caught with their pants down, and she knew that she had been busted. Yes, Lori told you about that, Lisa said in a defeated tone. Yes, she did. And I want you to know in the world of what you're thinking. Why the hell would you even consider on doing something like that? Lenny demanded harshly. Lisa was silent for a few seconds before speaking up again, sounding more serious. Luan hurt our brother in a very bad way, Lenny, and I can't allow such a thing like that slide, Lisa replied with a hint of malice in her voice. Mom and Dad are handling it, Lisa. We don't have to worry about Luan breaking the rules anymore. And besides, Luan was sobbing and remorse not just a while ago in Lincoln's room over what she did, so there's no reason of you planning to do. Just let it go, Lisa, Lenny shot back. What if Luan, Lisa began, but Lenny cut her off. No what ifs, Lisa. You are not Luan's parent, so you can stop just trying to make matters worse into your own hands. Lisa, I know you're on the edge of everything that's happened, all of us here, but that doesn't mean we're going to go around to even try to get even with Luan. And that certainly does not give everyone the rights of what you're planning to do so, Lenny argued. Lisa paused, not knowing what to say. Instead of inventing the devices that could mess with people's minds, you should probably focus on inventing ones that might be able to help Lincoln. Something to restore his memory. Your brother, and you better make this, Lisa. Don't waste your talent by doing something heartless. Besides, what could possibly go wrong and no hope and gain from all this? Luan's upset enough already, and you'll make it worse if you do what I know you're planning to do, Lenny lectured. Lisa stared down on the floor, not saying a word. Those ideas had crossed her mind in the hospital, yet her hatred towards Luan had blinded from her true goals, leading to her astray towards path that she had never been considered going down. However, her fear of Luan had gotten in the way, and the better judgment that caused her to focus more on getting back at Luan rather than helping Lincoln. Realizing her mistake, Lisa knew what she had to do. You're right, Lenny. Lisa stammered, now sounding upset. But I'm just worried about Lincoln, and I'm so angry at Luan I couldn't even think of anything else except going back at her. I just don't know what to do. Lenny was petrified. She just had never seen Lisa this upset before, but she couldn't actually blame her. Lincoln had been severely injured and nearly killed by Luan's pranks, and that was a situation Lisa had never been fully prepared for, and she was understandable that she would do much emotions. Despite being a 7-year-old genius, Lisa was only human after all, and even the prodigies that she had emotions, Lenny couldn't help but feel petty for Lisa, despite that she and Lori had planned to do to Luan. Lisa, you're the smartest person in the family, and you're also a good person. Don't do something that you'll regret later in life. I believe you. If there's anyone in this family that you can help, Lincoln and maybe Luan, it's you. Don't use your skills for evil purposes. Do what's right, Lenny explained for a comforting tone. Lisa looked up at Lenny, who had now tears in her eyes, and embraced her. You're right, Lenny. I'll do what I can. Also, thank you. I didn't know what I would have done if you hadn't come to speak to me, Lisa sniffled, embracing Lenny tightly. Lenny embraced Lisa with a warm smile and then said, I'm glad I was able to help. We'll get through this, and I know we will. I believe Lincoln is as well. We just gotta get some rest now. Lisa stepped back in and said, Yeah, I'm a bit tired. You're as well. See you in the morning, Lenny. You too, Lisa. Lenny nodded, headed towards downstairs. Lisa then rushed back to her room and had a new plan in mind, and she was going to try to save Lincoln. It would take some time, but she believed she could do it, just as Lenny told her.